Okay, so now we're over to the stove, okay? And this is where I'm going to show you, we've got our potatoes on here, and they're boiling, which is wonderful. Now, you notice I put that lid on, and so they started boiling very rapidly with the salt and the lid. So now I can actually take the lid off of the potatoes, and we're just going to let them do a little roiling boil there. Now, you can never have too much butter. Almost everything I prepare with butter. It's a little more natural. There's a myth about it being more fattening or this or that or whatever, but it just tastes butter, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take, I would say, about a half a stick of butter. Okay, we're going to use a lot of it here, because that's what we're going to sear these pork chops in. You're going to put it in your pot here. And the one thing I do is I try and make less work for myself on cleaning. So what I do is I'm going to use the actual same pot to actually cook the pork chops in as I'm going to sear them. So, which is okay because we can use some of the juices. The only thing that you don't want to interchange is that you'll notice I have two plates here. I have a raw meat plate and I have a dry plate. So after I'm done using this raw meat plate, when I take the pork chops out of the pot, because I'm going to use the same pot, I'm going to put them on a clean, fresh plate. And then that way I'm not going to contaminate my meat with any bacteria. Okay, really important. A man's way, or the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, but not if you poison him. So we don't want any of that. And I'm going to get my fork out. And it's been only about 6 minutes, but I'm going to stick it now. This is going to give you a good example. You see here your potatoes, you can feel it's hard to get the fork in them, and they're not sliding off. See? So if they're not sliding off that fork without giving it a good nudge, they're not even close to being done. Okay, so those have probably another 10, maybe 15 minutes. And then, of course, I'm going to melt this butter here. We're going to get it nice and good and hot, okay? Not too hot because you don't want to burn it. But, you want it melted real nice. And you'll know by the smell. You always know when butter's cooking, okay? So, I'm going to take that and I'll just put this little fork over here out of my way. Now, this recipe actually I learned from my mom. It's not necessarily a family recipe. I'm sure a lot of people make pork chops and brown gravy, but it's a great husband recipe. He absolutely loves and adores mashed potatoes, gravy, and pork chops. It's a real meat and potatoes kind of meal, and it's very easy. As you can see, the prep time takes no time at all. And you don't have to season this whatsoever. It's wonderful, okay? So you're not getting all that salt in your diet. So now you can hear my butter. The last bit of my little butter tab here, if you look, is sizzling, okay? So now I'm ready, and I'm going to drop these in. Now, I'm making a mental note that I'm actually using this fork here for the raw pork. So I'm going to drop all of these in here, and I'm going to use this fork to flip them and whatnot, whatever I need. Now, I chose thin pork chops because they take less time. So, a lot of people don't have a lot of time in life. That's another reason why I decided to do this cooking show, because I wanted to save people time. But I wanted people to have family time too, because dinner time is family time. Otherwise it's homework time, it's work time, it's after school activities time, it's this time, that time. So dinner really can be family time when you guys sit down and eat. And eventually you get tired of McDonald's. I don't care what anybody says. I've done my share of McDonald's and Taco Bell and KFC and all those places. But, they get old real fast. And then the beauty of this meal is you can always make more than you need, and you can send it to work in a Tupperware container with the husband the next day for lunch. And he has a nice, good, hearty meal that's going to stick to his ribs. Okay? So we're going to zoom in here a little bit on this pork so you can get a good idea of what I'm doing, because all I'm doing is cooking it enough on each side to actually trap in the flavor, okay? So you can see here, the pork chop is completely white on both sides. That's why they call it the other white meat, because technically when it's cooked it is white even though it starts pink, right? So we're getting these good and cooked. Another thing is if you choose a thicker potato or a thicker pork chop, the only thing you have to do really technically is cook it just a little bit longer, okay? Because you want these pork chops to fall apart. When your family goes to eat one of these pork chops, you want it to be the best thing that they've had since chocolate, right? Right. Okay. And your family is very important to you. My family is very important to me. And I want to know they're eating healthy and good. So I'll flip them a couple of times, and I'm going to get them good and browned on both sides. Not cooking them all the way through, because if I were to cook them all the way through, then they would be tough, okay? So as you can see, they're a little bit golden brown, and they're white on both sides, okay? So these are pretty much done. So I'm going to take them out, and I'm going to put them on this clean plate that I have. That way we don't contaminate that food. Now, getting back to this recipe, this was one of the most favorite things in the world that my mom ever made that I love. As far as, you know, cooking, everybody has their favorite. Well, this is one of my favorites. And I could never cook potatoes. Years and years and years and years and years, I could never figure out the secret on how to cook mashed potatoes. I would cook and cook and cook, and I would have people over, and they would be polite, but literally, you could glue my pictures on my walls with my mashed potatoes. They were so bad. Finally, one day, my mom came over, and I think I must have cooked something for her, or I said I was making mashed potatoes over the phone or something, whatnot. And she said, "You're cooking potatoes? No way." I said, "Well, yeah, I've gotten better at it." So I did find the secret. Speaking of potatoes, let me just throw this last pork chop in real quick because I didn't have room for it. And we're going to put this contaminated plate right in the sink out of our way. As you